Hello everybody, bonjour, and well, careful where you step. Welcome to the race notebook for the, I've got a security guard underneath me, so very much careful where you step. You're right, madame. Welcome to the race notebook for the 2022 French Grand Prix. And well, we're only at 30.4 degrees, but it's felt like a hot one. It certainly was a hot one for the crowd out here. And I thought we'd get in a sort of aerial view, because I'm afraid to say that this might be the last French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard for the foreseeable. Because, according to those in the know, it doesn't appear on the provisional or draft 2023 calendar. Apparently Spa doesn't appear on the provisional 2023 race calendar either. Of course, we've got new races coming in Las Vegas, and well, let's hope, eh? Let's hope that's just all provisional. Let's hope that's all rumours, unfounded or otherwise, and that Paul Ricard does keep its place, because, you know, France is the home of motor racing. I know, well, I mean, by which I mean where it all started. And, of course, these people have had a good day. That chap has had a good day for Mercedes. The sombrero-cladded fans have had a not-so-good day if they're supporting Sergio Perez. And France has had a terrible day, really, if they're supporting well, both Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon's actually had an all right day, and Charles Leclerc. I'll tell you what happened on the podium. So the Leclerc fans engaged in a light bit of Gallic booing with Max Verstappen when he was on the podium, just to your left behind you, JD. And when Lewis Hamilton went up onto the podium, they engaged in a light bit of sort of Gallic cheering, because he's not Max Verstappen. So it seems like you can't win wherever you are around the world. Someone's going to get booed. Yeah, Max was booed by the Leclerc fans and Lewis was cheered by the Leclerc fans. And they didn't have Leclerc up there after looked like a race where he was, well, maybe not in control, but at least was headed for some good points and a good race with Max Verstappen, maybe on a tyre offset after Red Bull, had Leclerc not gone off. After Red Bull, we're going to do a short first stint, one stop. Leclerc was going to do a more even one stop, potentially, if nothing else had happened, and then Leclerc would have had a tyre offset, even though Max would inevitably have had track position. So that's what Red Bull meant when they said, I think it would have been good and interesting to see how it would have turned out. But yeah, in the case we didn't have that, and in case these, in the end, these enthusiastic fans saw Max Verstappen win. There is Max Verstappen, JD, just the left-hand side. So the Dutchy fans have very quickly realised that it's Max Verstappen, and oh, he's given them a wave. Has he given them a wave? He has given them a wave. Right, should we go down this extremely precarious scaffolding? I should tell you, actually, didn't the, I hope this doesn't sound patronising, because I don't want to patronise the French Foreign Legion, but didn't the French Foreign Legion band do brilliantly in doing the national anthems underneath the podium? I know they're, you know, in the deserts and all the things you've seen about the French Foreign Legion, they're the hardest men possible, with the possible exception of the Royal Marines. Better not annoy Lee, of course, even though he's not here, JD. Yeah, it was the band of the French Foreign Legion, complete with their box hats. I did check; it did say for Légion étrangère, and so they had the music for lots of different people. They had our national anthem. And then the German national anthem, in case Hamilton won. Then they had the Dutch national anthem, which they did have to play. I assume they practiced it. The Monegasque national anthem, and then the Austrian national anthem, which is also the anthem that they needed to play and did. So I thought the French Foreign Legion did well. Great effort from them, and great effort by the Mercedes guys as well. There is the I'll get onto the Mercedes in a second. There is the podium, and everything is at Pocard. Can you see the L of Paul? Not really. Pocard. Well, you know, you've got to get the backdrop in there somewhere, and if it obscures the old classic Paul Ricard sign, then so be it. So, yeah, should we talk about Mercedes first of all, because they are up there in first place in the Constructors, even though they didn't win today. But, well, it was the first time they were on the podium with two cars since Saudi 2021. So George Russell said, nicely done, it's good to be back. And Lewis Hamilton was extremely positive about the whole thing saying that it's great motivation for everybody and everyone did very well. Did you like the way that Toto Wolff has clearly decided that heat or no heat, he's going to get involved on the radio and he's going to talk not only to Lewis Hamilton but also George Russell, saying, come on George, don't worry about it, you'll pass him back. So I don't know if Toto was just particularly motivated today or whether he's decided to take a personal involvement in his drivers' races much more, but yeah, it seemed like Toto's finger was glued to that old radio button. And anyway, someone is completely killing, and not particularly in a good way, the U2 song up in the Paddock Club. So yeah, well, maybe you can hear it behind me. It's a very enthusiastic rendition of With or Without You. Right, what else in Mercedes? So yeah, Toto on the radio, very close in the Drivers' Championship. 143 points for George Russell, 144 for Carlos Sainz. So yeah, Russell got some points over Carlos Sainz and is closing up on the Spaniard in the Ferrari, which I thought was quite interesting. Wow, he really is freestyling that U2 track, isn't he? He's not Bono, is he, lads?
No. Bad though.
Really? Quite bad. All right, good. I think we can just about see the drummer up there. Well, good. Yeah, a good start for Lewis Hamilton, P3 up to P2. When maybe it's just different in French. Your band trying to do With or Without You. Good start for Lewis Hamilton, P3 up to P2 when Charles Leclerc stopped. Lewis stopped under the virtual safety car, held P2. Had no drinks bottle, as half the field didn't use a drinks bottle. No, he did have a drinks bottle, but it didn't work. Most of other cars haven't fitted their cars with a drinks bottle because their cars are still overweight and they don't want to put the extra 500 grams or a kilogram of fluid into the car. And so most cars are running without drinks bottle, which must have been quite hard for the drivers. But I suppose with tyre preservation, as they all did, maybe they weren't too stressed on the physical side, despite the pretty high humidity and raging sun. Lewis held P2 through the virtual safety car after pitting and then just delivered it very well, 9 or 10 seconds behind Max Verstappen. So yeah, didn't get the opportunity of trying an Abu Dhabi at the end with a safety car that didn't happen, but in the end it didn't happen and he finished P2. So George Russell held P4 before Sergio Perez pitted, and then after Lewis Hamilton, he pitted after Lewis Hamilton, he overtook Sergio Perez on the virtual safety car restart and finished 0.8 of a second in front of the Mexican to get, as I say, Mercedes' first double podium since Saudi 2021. So well done to Merck. I've got to tell you about a test for Fabio Quartararo, the MotoGP champion, who was here on the grid. I spoke to him. The interview is on our social channels, I believe. Oh, what's he going with now? Stones. Can't get no satisfaction. Well, better luck with that one, monsieur. You might do quite well. Yeah, Quartararo is going to have a Mercedes test at the end of the season to do with Monster Energy, I believe, their fellow sponsor. So, oh, we got a photo here. Do you want to go down to down here, JD? We got a photo. Oh, it's Lewis on the standing where we did. God, we moved at the wrong time, didn't we, JD? Eh? You abandon a photographer's podium bit, and then Hamilton goes and stands on it a few seconds later. Well, we've been talking about him. Maybe we should have just stayed put. That's one for the future. Right. Who is it? George is going up there as well. Oh, lovely. Good luck, JD. So, so Quartararo is doing a Mercedes test at the end of the year, so watch out for that. Should be good. Quartararo, who has the equivalent of a French knighthood. He was made a Chevalier of the Legion of Honor recently, so congratulations to him. So it's Sir, well, I don't think they call him, that's not the honorific name, but he is a Chevalier de Legion of Honor, Fabio Quartararo, and is going well for his the next MotoGP championship this year. Good luck to him. Right, Red Bull, well done to them. They are the class of the field today after Charles Leclerc disastrously threw it off the road, or was there a problem with the car? We don't know. But Red Bull have won. Max Verstappen back with that winning feeling after 2 races off the top step of the podium, and yeah, congratulations. It was toying with him, wasn't he? Max was toying with Charles Leclerc early on, but couldn't overtake. Charles managed to hang on and maybe wrecked his tyres too much to make him vulnerable to that sideways moment, which an end did for the Monegasque. But, well, Verstappen did his job then and held his nerve, and it really paid off because Charles made that mistake. And when after Max inherited the lead, he never had to look back because he was in control. He was always going to one stop with a short first stint. So well done to Hannah Schmitz and Will Courtney for a good strategy that paid off today. They didn't pit under the safety car. It was only a couple of laps later they pitted anyway, so his tyres were in good shape. And as I say, it's a shame they couldn't have had the fight, which they say might have been interesting with Charles Leclerc. But do you know what? I think they thought, well, I know they thought, well, let's put it a different way. They thought they were going to win this race, whatever strategy. They had an idea, Red Bull, with using Sergio Perez particularly, with Carlos Sainz not being able to back up Charles Leclerc because he's coming back from the back of the grid. Red Bull thought this was a great chance of winning. They had a great chance of winning the Grand Prix. They didn't expect Charles Leclerc to have the mistake that he did, but in any case, they delivered on that. Sergio Perez lost a place to Lewis Hamilton at the start, battle with George Russell, as I said on the... but they thought they had an issue with the virtual safety car. Red Bull felt that the virtual safety car should have ended earlier than it did, and that's how George Russell got the jump, and Sergio Perez couldn't repass after that. So the way it happens is that it says virtual safety car ending, but then there's a random time period between that and when the green lights are shown and when everybody can get racing again. So I don't quite know what Red Bull mean, whether it was a random time period between 4 and 7 seconds and whether it went over those 7 seconds, at which point the green light was shown. Maybe that's what they mean. I'll have to go back and check the times, and I'll report back the Hungarian Grand Prix in a few days whether there was some sort of anomaly with the restarting of the virtual safety car that they weren't expecting. They shouldn't know specifically when the virtual safety car is ending. They can't know. That's why it's random, not to give any driver an unfair advantage to get the jump on the other one. It's just random as to when it says virtual safety car ending. There's a random amount of time before the lights go green. Everyone gets racing again so that nobody is advantaged either way. Right, that's that one cleared up. And a mistake for Charles Leclerc. He was leading, he had to balance tyre wear and defending from Max Verstappen, but it looked like he had that under control. And after Max Verstappen pitted on lap 15, Leclerc was pushing to counter the undercut of the Red Bull. He went a little bit out wide. He went on the dust and he spun and off and into the wall, crashed out. He couldn't get reverse. That's what he was screaming about. The throttle wouldn't respond and get reverse. And then he was breathing heavily, of course, because he was annoyed and everything else. And then he did that sort of primal scream where... primal scream, maybe the French band should have a go at primal scream. They might be more successful with that. But not particularly a crowd screamer, is it? Crowd pleaser, is it? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, listen, I put the question mark out there. Is he a crasher? I don't know if you saw the interview with Christian Horner. I don't mean in any way to be unkind. What I mean is that is he a crasher in this stage of his career in the way that Max Verstappen was a crasher early on, the way that Sebastian Vettel, when he started his career, was a bit of a crasher. You know, these drivers have these periods of throwing it off the road sometimes. Of course, they learn from that, and they become to be not crashers. So I don't mean it in any nasty way. It's just that while Ferrari, are they still a little bit green in their race strategy and everything else with Carlos Sainz? I'll get on to a minute. Yes, they are. But does it also mean that is maybe Charles Leclerc not quite ready to win a world championship in the way that you have to put the performances through and not make mistakes the way he has? Jock Clear works with him precisely on this side of his game, trying to get him work on his head game, work on his head space, and to try and coach him into not making these mistakes. Jock Clear, I spoke to him in Australia at the beginning of the year, said they've made amazing steps forward with Charles Leclerc and his headspace and his attitude and making him not crash. So clearly that Jock Clear has got a bit more work to do with Charles to pick him up from this, and they will bounce back hopefully for their sake in Hungary in a few days' time. Carlos Sainz P5, sorry, Leclerc DNF, I didn't make that clear. Sainz was a hard tyre start, and that really boxed them in because when the safety car came out for Leclerc and they had to pit, of course you're going to pit then, he could only go onto the medium, couldn't go on the soft, and you can't go to the hard tyre again because that would guarantee you have to do two stops. So that totally boxed them in. And that was the explanation that the Ferrari strategy guys said to Carlos Sainz after the race. They said, look, you know, we did what we could and you drove brilliantly. And Carlos said, well, yes, but we had nothing to lose by staying out. And that's true. So I think they gave away at least a place for P4 and maybe even, who knows, P3, even though Ferrari thought that Carlos's tyres were falling off the cliff and then he was going to tumble down lower than P5, which is where he eventually ended up. So I think all of those could be true. Sainz's tyres could have gone off the cliff and he could have tumbled down, so they settled for a safe 5, bad scoring countdown, rather than a risky 6th. No, hang on, it doesn't work. The inverse way of countdown, doesn't it? A risky 4th, or maybe even a risky 3rd. But that's what happened with Carlos Sainz. Not particularly happy about it, I think, but certainly you won't hear him saying that and criticising the team. Right, we'll do McLaren, then we'll take a break, because we're on 15 minutes or so. And Ricciardo 9th, Lando Norris 7th. Ran well, both ran well early on, both pitted under the safety car. They chased Fernando Alonso, but then they were slower than Fernando Alonso. Ocon closed from behind. Ocon got Ricciardo, but couldn't close on Lando Norris, who was 9 seconds behind Fernando Alonso, and Ricciardo finished 9th. So Ricciardo was 9th behind Ocon, Lando was 7th behind Fernando Alonso. So it was Alpine, McLaren, but Alpine got the better of it today. In fact, we'll go straight on to Alpine in a second. Andreas Seidel, that was a news line from us straight on the back of my Ricciardo interview. Hope you like it. Sorry about the accidental partridge, not so accidental. Where that was a line where Andreas Seidel says, yes, we want Ricciardo to stay next year. And through all the Zach Brown quotes, I haven't heard it as clear as that through any time this season. Andreas Seidel, team principal, yes, we want Ricciardo to stay next year. So can you put that in your bank, your Commonwealth or your ANZ bank, and bank it if you're Daniel Ricciardo, knowing that you're going to be in this McLaren for 2023? Well, you can, but then stranger things have happened in Formula One. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, it's looking increasingly good for Ricciardo that he's going to stay, and all of that nonsense will stop. Right, let's do about Alpine. Great points for the constructors, because they've got it over on McLaren today. Fernando Alonso 6th, Esteban Ocon 8th. Great start, Fernando Alonso up to P5 ahead of McLaren of Lando Norris, and he stayed there, pitted under the safety car, and a bit of a lonely race to P6 for Fernando. Ocon went off and then clonked into Yuki Tsunoda, which in the end put Yuki out, got a 5-second penalty for that, and then finished P8, so good recovery. Ocon said sorry about the shouting to his engineer after the race, and his engineer said, it's all right, Esteban, I think I probably deserve some of that. But yeah, it was unfortunate for Ocon, but overcoming a 5-second penalty for knocking another guy out, and then finishing P8 is not a bad day's work. So, yeah, I think he deserved those points, did Esteban Ocon. And, yeah, well, hopefully they're positive and optimistic about having another home Grand Prix next year, Alpine Renault, even though seemingly not many other people are. Right, that's enough notebook for now. This is how the pit walls detach and then are shipped with all of their monitors already rigged up, and it only takes a few things to plug and play them around the back, as they all get reassembled at the Hungaroring. I wonder what the big stop button is for. It's very tempting to stop it, so I'll pretend that we're pressing stop and putting more notebook in a bit. I don't want to stop it. It's obviously unplugged, but I don't want to press it, so I won't. More notebook in a bit. Hi, welcome back to the second part of the race notebook for the 2022 French Grand Prix. It is beating down. Weather check, 29.7. It's actually gone down. The useful thermometer on the start-finish line, but it's just brutal, the sun, in this hot summer. Le Summer race, as they call it. Right, we're going to do Haas up to AlphaTauri and then see if we can catch the end of the Red Bull photo, but I don't think we will. Kevin Magnussen's car is being fixed because it retired after a clonk with Zhou Guanyu. So super start from Kevin Magnussen, up from 19th with an engine penalty to P13. He pitted on lap 9, bit slow, and then they were both Haas's were done over by the safety car. So when the safety car came out for Leclerc, they had to pit again, unfortunately for them. And he came together with, he hit Nicholas Latifi, sorry, not Zhou Guanyu. So he hit Nicholas Latifi, and that broke Kevin Magnussen's car, and he had to retire. It was a DNF. Mick Schumacher finished last. He was done over by the safety car, as we said, and finished behind Valtteri Bottas for P15. So not the points of recent times. Not a great race for Haas F1. Better luck next time, lads. Zhou Guanyu had to retire after he clipped the back of the Haas and was compromised with his race. Valtteri Bottas will start with him. P14, hard tyres on the start, had a lot of wheel spin off the line, and that compromised the rest of his race, really. He lost positions and then struggled for pace ever since to finish P14. Zhou Guanyu stopped on lap 10, but it was a slow. He clipped the back of the house and broke his front wing. He had to pit for a new front wing and then stop with a suspected power unit issue. Is what we can say so far, but that's not confirmed from Zhou Guanyu. We'll follow up with that in practice in Hungary. So disappointing for Alfa Romeo. Sauber, Williams. It's okay for Alex Albon. DNF for Nicholas Latifi after contact with Kevin Magnussen. Nicholas Latifi clashed with Kevin Magnussen, went off where he had a hole in the right-hand side side pod and had to retire. But Alex Albon, an okay race really, went medium tyre, then hard tyre, then medium tyre, and perfectly fine, was sort of running by himself, behind Gasly and ahead of Valtteri Bottas. So learning more about this new setup and new upgrades package on the Williams. And at least what you can say with Alex Albon and the Williams, if not Nicholas Latifi hasn't got to grips with this new package yet because this is the first weekend he's had it, is that it's put Williams very firmly in the midfield where they can do business with the likes of Bottas, with the likes of Mick Schumacher and Haas and Aston Martin and Yuki Tsunoda and Gasly. So rather than being in the end of the midfield, this upgrade package has meant that Williams are well and truly in the middle of it. And I suppose that is positive. Let's do Aston Martin. You can see the what's inside some of the panels of these front wings, which might interest you at home. JD will see it if we can get a quick view. Didn't know all those data points. Look at those on the other side. That's quite interesting. On the front side, JD, as well. Look, those receivers for the loading, for the tyre temperature receivers and the aero loading sensors in the front wing. It's amazing, isn't it? But yeah, so Aston Martin, Sebastian Vettel 11th, Lance Stroll 10th, so they have picked up a point today. Vettel pitted one lap late under the safety car because they couldn't stack the cars, unfortunately, because Williams were out in the pit lane. So it would have been very, very difficult. That's why they had to keep Sebastian Vettel out and pitted Lance Stroll first. And that really compromised the rest of Sebastian Vettel's race. And it meant that Stroll got the point rather than Vettel, even though Stroll's pace was pretty good and he deserved it. They had a fight towards the end. They were obviously racing, but Lance was cool with the racing from Sebastian Vettel, but at least they didn't take each other out. Lance closed up to... he was running pretty well. He ran well on the medium, but struggled a few laps with overheating on the hard tyre. And then he felt he could have got P9, but lost it, and then got pressure from Sebastian Vettel. And he was fine with racing his teammate for P10, Lance Stroll. He has got a point today after a bit of a barren spell recently. And AlphaTauri will finish with them. Pierre Gasly P12, Yuki Tsunoda with a did not finish. Gasly with a hard start, put medium on in the safety car, and went for a long second stint, chased down Sebastian Vettel and Kevin Magnussen, couldn't get Sebastian Vettel by only 9/10 of a second and was a little bit frustrated in P12. Yuki from P8 on the grid, great qualifying, really disappointing for him. Had a bad start, got spun round, rejoined at the end of lap 1 last, and then stopped on lap 12 due to the side pod being holed from the Esteban Ocon clash. Right, do we have the Max Verstappen victory photo? No, we don't. It looks like it's going to be quite some time, and only now are the cars being released from Parc Fermé. So that is it. We will say bad luck to all the people like Valtteri Bottas and who didn't score points. Well done to Fernando Alonso. There's his car being rolled back for a P6. Well done to Carlos Sainz. Bad luck for Charles Leclerc. Well done to Lewis Hamilton and George Russell for the podium. But for Red Bull Racing, it is a return to the top step of the podium. And maybe when they've won as many as they've won this year, it's sort of trite to say that they needed that. But, you know, in the back of my head, I think they kind of did. So let's see how they can do in the Hungarian Grand Prix in Budapest in just a few days' time. So join us all. Martin Brundle will be back for that, and we'll be there, usual crew. So join us all in Hungary in a few days' time for the Hungarian Grand Prix, the usual Sky F1 service. Thanks for watching all weekend. Hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, see you in a few days' time. Bye-bye.